All right, a lot of items here to discuss right now with Representative Ron Paul, Republican from Texas. He is hopped on the phone line for me from Texas, from the town of Clute. Congressman Paul, good to have you call in. Just curious, is that the home office there, Clute, Texas?
Well, sort of. I have a congressional office and a foundation office in Clute.
Gotcha. Okay. If I may begin, sir, I want to begin with the news of the day. President Obama posting this online copy of his original birth certificate. What do you make of it? And is the debate over?
Well, let's hope so. I have no idea, but no, I think some people would like it to go on. You know, it's been going on a long time. I've never figured out who really wants it to go. There are people who wanted to challenge it, but then I think it wouldn't have gotten very far if there weren't a lot of questions in the media and sort of egging the whole thing on. So I would assume that if this is authentic, it's over and done with, and we won't hear so much anymore. But I haven't paid a lot of attention. It hasn't been the most exciting issue for me.
Well, there are some other issues that perhaps excite you, sir. I know we heard from Fed Chief Ben Bernanke just a little while ago, and I want to talk about him with you in just a moment. He gave his first news conference from the Fed ever. But I want to talk about the debt ceiling. Economists say if we don't get this done, we're talking about a potential financial calamity in terms of raising the ceiling. Is the time, Congressman, for posturing, is it over?
Yes, I think the calamity comes by continually raising it and that we don't get our spending under control. That's where I see the great danger. So I'm not in favor of raising the debt limit and never have been, even a long time ago, believing that we would come to this point. So the technique of using fear is common in politics, whether it's in foreign policy or economic strife like it was when we had a problem in 2008. So they'll say if you don't raise the debt limit, the end of the world will come, and I'm afraid the end of our economy is going to come if we don't quit spending money.
But if we do not raise the debt ceiling, there are a lot of financial experts that do talk about financial calamity. You know, the economy isn't hot as it is. So you're saying you would still, at this moment, vote not to raise the ceiling?
Oh, definitely. I'm not going to vote for it. That only will encourage the spending, and I just don't think it will be that bad, because it isn't like the day you don't raise the debt limit, there's no money coming into the Treasury. I mean, still a lot of money comes into the Treasury. I mean, why don't they just pay the interest? And then there's no default. So that's I think it's a bogus argument.
You say it's bogus. Okay.
Bogus fear.
Many people would argue with you, but that's your opinion. We'll leave it there. I do want to talk about the Fed giving their first news conference ever, and I know you've been, really hot on this issue, making sure, that the Fed is transparent. How will this transparency, Congressman Paul, how would it help the economy to make the Fed more open to the public, more transparent?
Well, I don't think we've quite had the transparency that I want, and we're getting there. I didn't hear it in this news conference, but we're getting more. We've received information now from the Fed about where some of those funds went when they were literally passing out trillions of dollars, and so much of it went overseas. So I think that kind of information really annoys most Americans, since so many Americans have lost their jobs and lost their houses. So I think that type of transparency is important.
How else could they ratchet up the transparency? What else would you like to see?
Well, just open up the books and pass my Audit the Fed bill, where we go in and we find out everything that they do, and not just partially after the fact. I just think that we should know what they're doing. Why should they be able to loan out $1 trillion or $2 trillion at will? I mean, we need to know what they've done, and I think if we did know all the people who have received the benefits at the expense of others, that we would change it. What I heard today was just sort of, making current policy sound pretty reasonable. I think our current policy has driven us to this point. And, the chairman talked about, the debt is a problem. That's one of the only big problems, the biggest problem we have, and the Congress has to quit spending. But he will not admit, and I've challenged him many times, about how the Federal Reserve facilitates this, because if he didn't buy the debt, interest rates would go up and the Congress would have to quit spending.
Well, that would be kind of fun to have you and Mr. Bernanke on the show, so I'll just throw that invitation out there and we can hash that out on TV.
I don't think he's going to accept.
He may not. Just throwing it out there, Congressman Paul. Let me ask you this one final question. And many of us here, members of the media, just can't quite wrap our heads around this one in terms of Members of the Republican Party not, officially going ahead, throwing their hats in the ring for this upcoming 2012 presidential race. Why has that not happened, do you think? What's different this time around?
I have no idea. I'm pretty surprised myself. The fact that I've formed an exploratory committee and still thinking about it, I was sort of glad the other ones didn't do too much, because one thing, me personally,
why is that?
I think the campaigns are way too long. After last year's election, they want to know what's going on in the next campaign. I think it's media driven.
Well, Congressman, what's the scuttlebutt behind the scenes among certain Republicans who people have been sort of, thinking maybe? Yeah, what are they saying?
Yeah, well, I think they see Obama as a real tough candidate, and he's likable, and he's not. He may well not be penalized for the bad economy. But, that's the question that the politicians have to make. Besides, I think those judgments don't mean a whole lot when you think about how well George Bush Sr. was doing, and then he lost the election. So I think anticipating the future is very difficult. My reasons and decisions will be made for different reasons rather than anticipating exactly how tough it'll be or how easy it'll be.
Interesting. Just curious. Congressman Ron Paul, thank you for the conversation. I appreciate you calling in.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
And